and welcome back to the show, everybody. My name is Shane. I'm here with Mark.
Hey.
And we are the Fantasy Football Pros. Now, today we'll be talking about our top 10 running backs for the 2021 season, and we'll be discussing our differences a little bit.
It's very interesting that when we did this, we did this separate. We made our own list up, and then we sat there and looked at them, and we had the exact same top 10 running backs, not in the same order, but the same 10 names in the top 10.
Yeah, which makes us feel pretty confident about those rankings.
Either we're really right or we really suck.
We're both really bad together. If you haven't already, please subscribe to our podcast. It helps with our algorithms so more people can receive our advice without you telling your league mates where you're getting this information from.
Or please tell them, and we'll get more followers.
First on our list, Mark and I both have him at number 1. That is Christian McCaffrey.
So when we're projecting this year with Christian McCaffrey, it's really hard to do off of last year since he got hurt so early on. But, this is someone who has been steady every single season, so we can go off what he did the year before. He just had a really injury-plagued 2020. But he's only 25 years old, and he should be bounced back very well this season.
And luckily he did play 3 games, so we did see what, he still has it. He dominated in those games. He was scoring about 30 points per game. And by the way, this is PPR rankings.
Yeah, he did. He in PPR, he finished with 90.4 fantasy points. So, 30 points a game. Mr. Whizzer over there.
Yeah, McCaffrey, he's still going to get he's still the workhorse back. He dominates when he's on the field, when he's playing. He doesn't really have any down weeks. There's nothing bad to say about the guy. If the team is losing, he's going to get a ton of receptions. If they're winning, he's going to get a lot of groundwork and touchdowns. He is a threat to score a touchdown anywhere on the field. He's just an amazing athlete.
Yeah, he's still an every down back. I mean, they do have Sam Darnold throwing to him this year. If you could correct me on, did he throw to his running backs quite a bit with the Jets?
I mean, just going off the top of my head, and not that I'm aware of like a lot, but he is the best player on offense. So for them not to have designed plays for Christian McCaffrey wouldn't make sense.
Yeah, I mean, Matt Rule and Joe Brady, their offense is definitely running back friendly. Mm-hmm. I mean, and we look what his backup did.
Davis.
Yeah.
Davis is not a good running back, and he did pretty well.
He got cut from the Bears. Yeah. I mean, if he can't break the Bears running back field, yeah. But I mean, it's just Matt Rule and Joe Brady. They have a very running back friendly offense. So I still think McCaffrey he's going to get his 400 touches one way or another this year, and probably somewhere along the lines, which is crazy for running back, but probably somewhere along the lines of 60% or 50% to 50% or so of his yards are going to be off of receptions.
Mm-hmm.
So I still think you're looking at 330, 340 points and fantasy points over the course of the year if he stays healthy.
They did draft Chuba Hubbard in the 4th round, but that just has to be backup safety just because, Christian McCaffrey did get hurt last year. They no longer have Mike Davis on the team. So
yeah, I still don't think that's gonna change his touches. I still think he's gonna get that 400 touches for the season. Just, like I said, that's more of an insurance thing to make sure they have a good quality back in case he does get hurt again. Because, I mean, if it wasn't one thing, it was another thing last year. He was just injury riddled last year. So, and then with Sam Darnold coming in, it's a much better quarterback than what he has had the last couple of years.
At least it should be.
Should be. I think he was totally
underutilized.
Scrabble word. There you go. But I think McCaffrey, might get more goal line, more red zone targets, chances at least, because I think the offense is going to be more fluid in this year, I believe.
Yeah, I concur, sir.
Oh, very good.
At number 2, Mark and I both have Dalvin Cook there. A very dominant runner for the Minnesota Vikings. The guy is just a stud. He is now 2 years removed from being labeled injury prone. He only missed a couple games last year, but most running backs do. It's just the nature of the game. Last year, Dalvin Cook had 1,557 rushing yards to go with 16 touchdowns, 44 catches, 361 yards, and another touchdown. He was the number 2 overall running back in PPR leagues.
Yeah, I mean, dude is beast, right? He's just a
Yeah.
beast. But I do believe that hit that 1,557 yards rushing will not be seen again by him this year. That offense was really cruising in the second half. Captain Kirk was doing a really good job moving the ball around. He found a toy he loves in Justin Jefferson. That has turned into, you know, a pretty good throwing offense, pretty good passing offense. So I don't see him getting those 1,557 yards again this year. I see maybe back that down 150 yards or so, but I think you're going to see that 44 catches and 361 yards go up. I think with this offense that they have, they're going to continue throwing the ball, and I think they're going to incorporate him more so in the passing offense. So looking at last year, Cook had 22 carries inside the opponent's 5-yard line. That topped the NFL. That was
Yeah,
number
it's a
one in the NFL.
lot.
Yeah. So does that back off a little bit with now that they like to pass so much? Do they use him more as getting inside the red zone and then, doing a swing out pass to him? There's different ways they can use him and him still get the points. So yes, I don't think his yardage is going to be the same, but I think he'll make it up in the receptions this year, which in our what we like the PPR leagues, that's always great getting the point for the reception and then the touchdown also. That would be nice.
Yeah, and if you're playing against him, he is scary to watch when they do a quick pass out to him on the side because that boy can run.
Yes, he can.
He's fast.
Yes.
Next on our list, we have Saquon Barkley at number 3. I have him at number 4. Mark has him at number 3.
I like to, excuse me, Judge, can I enter a different plea, please?
Absolutely. You want to
Instead,
change it?
yeah, I want to change it. I want to change that plea from not guilty to guilty. Guilty that I shouldn't have put him there at number 3.
And why is that, Mark?
All right. It's not because, I mean, yes, some people will be concerned because of his health, but I think he's going to bounce back fine. I think he's young enough that he's going to be just fine healthy wise. Just because there's so many shiny new toys at New York, and thinking about it and thinking about it, I decided that maybe I would even put him back to maybe number 5 or 6, to be honest with you.
Oh, wow. There you go. Getting bold.
Yeah, just as I'm thinking about it now, there's so many toys there, and the one toy they added was a kid, Tony, that from out of Florida, that his freshman and sophomore year they used him out of the backfield quite a bit as a running back also. So I think that you maybe see him more in some gimmick plays instead of Barkley in there. I think maybe you're going to see him line up as instead of a wide receiver as a running back on certain plays, maybe even a goal line situation. So I should not have initially, when we wrote this together and wrote up everything, I should not have put him at number 3. We could talk about him. So what would you say to that, sir?
Well, I have him at number 4 because, he did tear his ACL, his MCL, and his meniscus, which typically takes him, I believe it's like 9 to 12 months just for your ACL to heal after your surgery. We know that Saquon Barkley is an amazing athlete, and those guys tend to bounce back faster than normal. Like they're kind of like a Wolverine. Like
Yeah,
Adrian
right.
Peterson was like the definition of healing extremely fast and coming back way before everyone projected him to. So can Saquon Barkley be 100% week one? It's definitely possible, but I need to see it first. I need to see him on the field. I need to see his cuts and have him have confidence on his knee, not just 100% physically healthy, but mentally healthy as well. I think he can do it, but he has things holding him back because now he's got Tony on the team. He's got Kenny Galladay on the team. Their offensive line is still very questionable. They still have, Daniel Jones at quarterback. I do not have faith in Daniel Jones. So this offense should be better than it was last year because now they have these new weapons. Will it? I don't know, but it is Saquon Barkley, and he had one of the best rookie seasons ever as a running back. So it's hard to lose faith in him. But like I said, you need to see him on the field, see if he's fully healthy.
Yeah, he does have one other thing going for him. He does have one of the most conservative offensive coordinators in the game. So yeah, they're bringing in. I was mentioning they bring in Tony, and that was lined up sometimes as a running back or this or that. I don't think Garrett's that. He might not be going in that direction because he is so freaking conservative. And players are complaining about him as play calling for years because he's so conservative. So maybe Barkley is safe in that offense, even with the new shiny new toys. But I think with us talking about it now and also before we came on air, the more and more I think about it, I'm probably just gonna shy away from drafting Barkley myself. Even though we're saying he could be in this top 5, top 4 running back, I don't know if I'm willing to. I'm not willing to risk my first round pick on him, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
With too many question marks.
Yeah, there's a lot of question marks. But like I said, he's a freak athlete.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, dude was just a beast. I mean, if you look at what people are projecting for him this year, they're still projecting, 1,200 to 13, depending on who you're reading, between 1,200 and 1,300 yards. Still looking at 50 to 60 receptions, somewhere along lines of a dozen, maybe 13, maybe Baker's dozen of touchdowns. But I don't know. Like you said, there's just with all the shiny new toys, the question marks, Danny Dimes, all that stuff. I'm not willing to give up that draft spot for someone with all those question marks.
Yeah. Which, that might all be revealed, during preseason games.
True. But even if he's during preseason games or during preseason where he looks healthy, training camp and all that, looks healthy, I still, because he's going to be one of the top 5 picks taken. I want a sure thing. I don't want a question mark.
Yeah, especially in the first round.
Yeah. And yes, I'm a jilted lover because, yes, in one of my leagues last year, he was my first round selection. So I'm jilted lover.
And you got burned by him and McCaffrey
Yeah.
last year.
Yeah. 2 different leagues, one McCaffrey, one Barkley. Yeah. I was behind the 8 ball the whole year trying to get into the playoffs.
At number 4, we have Derrick Henry. I have him number 5. Mark, you have him at number 4, so he's a perfect spot for you.
Yes.
Derrick Henry is just a beast of a man. Last year, he had 378 rushing attempts for 2,027 yards. He had 17 touchdowns. Of course, the only downfall with him in a PPR league is that he only had 19 catches for 114 yards, 0 touchdowns. Now, the stiff arm himself, the guy is just a beast of a man. I have him at number 4. I think he's just an amazing running back. The wheels will have to start falling off eventually. I don't think it's going to be this season, though. I only have him down a little bit on the rankings just because, he doesn't get that receiving work. And he can get phased out of the offense if they're down.
But has anything changed on this offense?
They've lost receivers, a wide
Exactly.
receiver and a tight end. That's about it.
Exactly. Now, do they start finding ways to get him the ball receiving because they don't have those 2 top receivers that they had? two of the top receivers that they had, or do they use even more of the game? I mean, that's the thing. But it's the same quarterback, same number one wide receiver. I don't know. Is he going to be utilized more in that? I think he might get utilized a little bit more coming out of the backfield for reception.
I know his receptions weren't all that great, though. I mean,
No,
he had 31 targets and only caught 19 catches.
right. But are they going to pull him and not be the third down back?
No.
That's what I'm saying. So I think that they're just going to work with him more. I think he's going to get more targets, which should be some more receptions and yardage and possibly a touchdown or something. But his stats are just so off the chart with on the ground. I don't think that's going to change at all. I mean, look at last year, they keyed on him anyway. The offenses keyed on him. They knew he was going to get the ball, and he just tossed them to the ground.
Mm-hmm. Made him the number 3 overall running back.
Yeah, I mean, he led the league in carries last year. So he gets the ball. This is bell cow.
Yeah. It would be nice if he was better at catching.
Yeah. I mean, during the last 2 years, he got a total of 55 targets. So, yeah. I mean, it's not like, hell, sometimes you think McCaffrey can get that in one game.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't see him slowing down. I still see him getting those touches, and continue to run over people.
Let's move along. At number 5, we have Alvin Kamara. I have Kamara at number 3. You have Kamara at number 6. Can you please explain to me why you have so much disrespect for Alvin Kamara?
Because we still don't know who's going to be the starting quarterback for New Orleans. And if it is, Taysom Hill is going to still get his touches and do all those things at the goal line, and they're still going to use him in that. And if he's not the starting quarterback, they're going to bring him in and do the same thing they did with Breeze, even more so now because since Breeze isn't around. I think it's even more of Taysom Hill being used, and I think that's going to take away from Kamara.
That's some good insight. But what I saw is that, like the first game with Taysom, he had like 0 receptions. And I think the second game he had like 1 or 2.
Mm-hmm.
But their last game that they had together, he had 14 catches.
I understand that.
It's 14 catches, Mark.
I know.
To me, that's the head coach saying, you need to give the ball to Alvin Kamara. He's our best player on the field. I don't care that you think that you're fast. Kamara is way faster.
I understand. It's one game out of a whole year.
Yeah, but it was Hill's first season as an actual quarterback, not a tight end.
Okay. I mean, I understand your reasoning, what you're looking at. I just don't know if he is named the starting quarterback that Hill's going to see it that way. Pride is a bitch.
Well, if he does that, I think he's going to find himself the bench. You refusing to give the ball to the best player on the field.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
Okay.
I mean, Kamara was the number 1 overall running back.
I know you and I are looking differently at this. I am seeing a huge drop off of last year's numbers for Kamara. And I'm talking last year, fantasy point wise, he was 377 fantasy points.
Yeah, I do think there will be a drop off, which is why I do not have him as the number 1 or number 2 guy. Mainly because Michael Thomas got hurt, and that, he did come back from that injury, but you can still tell he was not Michael Thomas. He was not the same dominant wide receiver. So they had to rely on Kamara more, which is why I think he had such a dominant season. But I believe Sean Payton will design plays solely for Kamara. I just can't see him not getting work.
I see what I understand what you're saying. I see it. I still have him projected at sub 300 points for the season.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
That's how much of a drop off I see, is like around a 20% drop off in points. I could be completely off, but
no, I mean, that makes sense because he's going to have Thomas back.
Yeah,
I think that's going to take some receptions off of him.
So, I mean, listen, if I'm sitting there picking at number 8 or 9 and he's there, oh yeah, I'm taking him.
Well, that's a steal.
I know. I mean, if I'm sitting there at 6 or 7 and he comes around and I'm probably taking him. I'm not taking him the first 4 though.
Mm. So last year, he only had 187 rushing attempts, but did have 932 yards. He had 16 rushing touchdowns. He also had 107 targets, which is what I think we're both thinking is going to go down.
Yeah.
And he did have 83 catches for 756 yards and another 5 touchdowns.
Yeah. I mean, solid.
Mm-hmm. And I think you're disrespecting the man.
Yeah, I think I am slightly. Knowing full well I'm doing it, yes. I actually, and I know we're going to get to this guy, but I think the guy we're going to talk about after him, I would rather select ahead of him.
Let's talk about him.
Okay.
Number 6, we have Jonathan Taylor. I have Taylor at number 9. You have Taylor at number 5.
Yes, I do.
So he had 232 rushing attempts, which is a little bit, below Derrick Henry and Delvin Cook's numbers. But he had 1,169 rushing yards with 11 touchdowns. He had 36 catches on just 40 targets. It's still really impressive. For 299 yards and a touchdown. So why do you think he's going? Oh, he was also the number 6 overall running back in PPR formats.
But my question is, and what my observation was, the second half of the season is when they really found out what they had. And when they started using him, he was a beast. He was a top 3 running back, and that's what I'm looking at is they realized what they had. And that second half of the second half of his season, I mean, he was a beast. I mean, that's when he got the majority of his receptions. That's when he really started getting those 100+ games, rushing games. I think this year that 1169 is going to be 1,300 yards rushing. I think those 11 touchdowns is going to go maybe to 14 touchdowns. He has good hands. He had a good.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're going to start using him more as a target out of the backfield. So I think what we saw in the second half of the season, it's going to keep going into this season, and this is where we're going to see him shine, I think.
Well, we know that he has an amazing offensive line, which is always a plus for running back.
Mm-hmm.
I just see a lot of questions. Is how much receiving work is Hines going to be taking from him? What is Marlon Mack's role on this offense? He signed a 1-year deal with them. I can only assume that he's going to be the backup of the backup.
Yeah, he's an insurance. He's just someone that knows the offense. They're like, hey, we can go out and get a backup, a security blanket, and someone who doesn't know the offense or no one else wants Marlon Mack. So we can just pick him up. We can re-sign him just as, hey, here's someone that knows our offense.
That's what I'm hoping it is.
Yeah.
But, we don't know. Another question mark is Carson Wentz. What is he going to mean to this offense? He did target Miles Sanders 52 times last year, but he only caught 28 of those catches, which is a little concerning for a receiving back. So I just see a lot of question marks mainly on his utility usage. Now, if he's the feature back, I mean, he's easily top 5. Easily top 5. But we have those 2 other running backs that we just don't know, and the quarterback that we just don't know.
I just don't think that Mack is there for anything but security, and because he knows the offense, and maybe he's still there. He's good in the locker room, and he's good with the young players. Is Hines going to get some of the touches from passing down? Yes, he is.
Definitely, yeah.
But I know it's not like Wentz. I think Wentz does target his running backs. I do believe he's going to target these running backs, and the offense we already know flows that way. It's designed that way. So I don't think there's going to be a big issue with Wentz being able to fit into that role. That's why I have Taylor as high as I do.
And I'm hoping you're completely right because I have him in keeper league,
Yes,
and I am 100% keeping him this year. So
I understand.
I am keeping my fingers crossed that you are correct.
Gotcha.
At number 7, we both have Nick Chubb at number 7. He is behind probably the number one offensive line for rushing wise. He is just a dominant running back. The only problem with Nick Chubb is Kareem Hunt. It's just the way that they just run the ball so much. It's like it's in the first half, it's just Nick Chubb, Nick Chubb, Nick Chubb, Nick Chubb. And then they just like sit him afterwards, and then it's just Kareem Hunt in the second half. Or possibly Nick Chubb is in the first 3 quarters, and then Kareem Hunt like finishes off the game. Now, if Kareem Hunt was not there, Nick Chubb would, he'd be in that top 5 for sure.
So, do you think it's more of a target situation where Kareem Hunt more of an accomplished receiving running back?
Oh yeah, I mean, when they're down a game, Kareem Hunt does seem to see the field a lot more often just because he is a better receiving back than Chubb is. And Chubb doesn't get many receptions. See, last year, Nick Chubb had 190 rushing attempts for 1,067 yards. He also was injured. Got 12 touchdowns, only had 18 targets last year, 16 catches, 150 yards.
Okay, let me just throw this one out to you though. So the last 4 games of the season, I know you like looking at what they did toward the end of the year,
Mm-hmm.
and he had 16 targets in the last 4 games. So he started seeing some targets toward the end of the season. All of a sudden, they were using him that way. They found out that he has actually got good hands, that we can use him as a receiving back also. So I think we're going to see a continuation of that and start off where he's going to sometimes be out for a series and Hunt's going to be in there, but I think this is going to be the lead dog in Cleveland. Ruff, 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 ruff.
I mean, he always has been.
Yeah.
And he should get more receiving looks, just looking at the stats, right? I mean, he had 18 targets and got 16 catches. And he averaged 9.4 yards per catch, which is like Alvin Kamara numbers. It's
Mm-hmm.
actually better than Alvin Kamara. Most of the running backs get, between like around 5 to 6 yards per reception. And he almost doubled that.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm thinking I'm looking at somewhere like 1,250 yards, still sticking around that 12 to maybe 13 touchdown rushing wise. But I think what we're going to see the targets. I think his targets are going to double this year.
It's not a huge claim because he only had 18, but I
Yeah,
could definitely see that
but
easily.
okay. So I'm thinking, probably more than that. Then let's say 3 receptions a game. So we're looking at what 17 times 3. What's that? 51 receptions. So let's say even he only has 2 receptions a game. We're still looking at 34 receptions. It was his double though what he did last year. But I think he between 2 to 3 receptions a game. I think he's going to get. So fantasy points wise, probably somewhere along the lines of last year was 207 fantasy points. This year, as long as he stays healthy, I'm thinking closer to 280.
Oh, wow. That's a big jump.
Yeah, I think he's going to have a really big jump this year.
But I mean, he did lose 4 games. He missed out on 4
Yeah.
games last year. So
Yeah, I mean, he only played 11 full games last year. I mean, he was out a couple times after a few series. So yeah, 11 full games is all he had last year. So yeah, I think if he's staying healthy, even if out of the 17 games now he misses 2 of them, add 4 more games into his portfolio, I think seriously 280 to 290 fantasy points.
I can definitely see. I mean, the running game is the focal point on the Browns, and he is the focal point of the running game. So
Yeah, both very high on him.
next, at number 8, we have Ezekiel Elliott. I have Zeke at number 6. Mark has him at number 10. Zeke was the number 9 overall running back last year. He had 244 rushing attempts, only had 979 rushing yards. He had 6 touchdowns. He did get 52 catches on 71 targets for 338 yards and another 2 touchdowns. Zeke definitely had a down year last year.
You think?
He he was amazing. His first 4 games, he looked like a dominant RB1, and then Dak got hurt. Andy Dalton came in, and then Andy Dalton got hurt, and his offensive line was getting hurt, and he just had so many negative things going against him that he, didn't matter how good of a running back you are, you have no quarterback, so that you don't have the threat of the pass, and you have your offensive line that was once dominant is just injury riddled, and it's hard to work with that. And I think that Dak is going to come back, and he should be healthy in week 1. The offensive line will be healthy again, and I think Zeke is just going to go back to doing Zeke things, eating that cereal.
This is a case study in what happens when you have no quarterback. So think about this: in the first 5 games that Dak Prescott last year, with Dak Prescott in the lineup last year, right? He posted Elliott posted the 3rd most fantasy points during that span.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Prescott goes down. You have the Red Rocket as your quarterback, and look what happens. Like you said, they can key on him. They could do all the things they needed. You knew you weren't going to get hurt by the pass. The quarterback was not going to hurt you. So this just shows, for anybody out there that thinks that a great running back can do it on their own, or for that fact, even a great passer can do it on their own. No, they can't. You need a balanced attack to do anything in this league.
And to be fair, I think Saquon Barkley not last year, 2 years ago, he was a dominant running back on a really, really bad offense. So he's like the outlier.
Yeah.
Kind of like Derrick Henry and Nick Chubb, how they are on being dominant running backs, even though they don't get any receptions.
True. They're not they're more one-dimensional.
Mm-hmm.
The only difference is that Chubb can actually catch the ball, where Henry has a problem catching the ball.
Big problem.
He kind of looks like Will Chamberlain trying to hit a free throw.
Or Shaq when he falls in slow motion. It just looks like he's doing it on purpose. That's just how he falls.
Yeah. Oh my God.
But yeah, I think Zeke's going to have a bounce back here.
I think, and we talked about it in an earlier episode, we talked about how this is a chance for someone to get Ezekiel at a discounted price.
Yeah, big discount.
Yeah, let's see here where he's going right now.
I've seen him in some drafts. He's going in the 2nd round.
Exactly right. The highest he has been selected in for mock drafts this year was the 4th overall running back.
Wow, that's really high.
Right. But the absolute highest or lowest, worst, whatever you want to call it, was the 13th running back.
Wow.
I mean, that's a big gap.
That's disrespectful.
Yeah. But so even if you just take the average of that was the 6th or 7th running back, and we're talking about him in that range right now. You still, if you're in a 10-team league, you're going to be able to possibly get him in this 2nd round. If you're a 12-team league, you might be able to get him the 1st pick in the 2nd round still, because all the receivers that'll be taken in the 1st round also.
I think that's a great setup. I mean, you can get either, you can get Kelsey, or you can get another RB1s. You can lock up 2 RB1s in the first 2 rounds, or
yeah. I mean, if you're drafting at the end of the 1st round and beginning of the 2nd round, oh my, what a wraparound you can have there.
Yeah, I think that's going to be regardless. There's pretty good running backs up here at the top.
Mm-hmm. And like you said, I think he has a bounce back. I think you're right on that. Is he going to have the 13, 14, 1,500 yards rushing anymore? Probably not. I think those days are over with him. But he's still going to be the guy at the goal line. He's still going to be getting his 10 touchdowns,
Easy 10.
Yeah. And that doesn't include the receiving touchdowns that he'll receive, because
Mhm.
he's still, I mean, Elliott, he is a good pass catching running back. So he's still going to get his 50 receptions out of the backfield.
And let's face it, when Dak was in the offense, their offense was just roaring. It was amazing how many points that they were scoring. And it was because their defense was just so bad. And I don't think that their defense has improved all that much over the offseason.
No, I mean, a little bit, but no, they're still,
I mean, it has to get better, right? it was
oh, it
it
can't be
was
worse.
horrible.
Yeah. And it will be better, but it's still going to be horrible. Let's face it, it's still going to be bad.
Yeah, they're gonna have to put up points to win.
Yeah. But yeah, this is definitely, I have a star next to his name, no pun intended, with the Cowboy star. But no, I have a star next to his name saying, hey, watch him, see how far he falls, and you could get a really good discounted price on Ezekiel Elliott in the draft this year.
At number 9, we have Aaron Jones. Now we both have actually Aaron Jones at number 8, but the way the averages worked out, he's at our number 9 spot. Now I know we probably have him a lot lower than most people, and he's an amazing talent. He's an amazing running back. I don't think AJ Dillon's going to be stealing much work from him. I think he's still going to be the feature back. And he was a lot more consistent last year than he was years prior, where he scores you 40 points in one game, the next game he just gets completely phased out because it's the Aaron Rodgers show and they just need to throw the ball a ton. And I think that's why we both have him lower on the list than normal, because we don't know if Aaron Rodgers is actually going to play for the Packers. And if
Yeah.
he doesn't play for the Packers, you don't have that legendary future Hall of Fame quarterback that defenses are mainly focusing on. He's going to have a lot more trouble gaining any speed.
So here's my take on this, okay? If there wasn't two question marks, here are the two question marks. Aaron Rodgers, and the other question mark is, are they going to now use AJ Dillon as a goal line back? Will he lose some of the goal lines to AJ Dillon? If it wasn't for those two questions, Aaron Jones is the top 5 in the top 5 on my list. But those two questions are legitimately there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not, we're not saying these things just to have something bad to say about somebody. Those are legitimate questions. I mean, durability. Listen, he's missed at least 2 games in 3 of his last 4 seasons. So, I mean, there's a slight durability issue.
But I think that's with most running backs.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, they mainly play only like 14 games. So if we're playing 17 games now, they'll get up to 15 games.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, I mean, it's how, and okay, and let's say this. Let's say Aaron Rodgers
Drinking much this morning?
Yeah, how about it? Let's say Aaron Rodgers does play for the Packers next year. How inspired is his play going to be? Is it one of those where it's like, oh shit, I don't want to be here, and just have a horrible season?
Like he's going to look like Jay Cutler out there when he played for the Bears.
Oh
just
my
like,
God.
I'm not giving it even 50% of what I got.
Yeah, exactly. No, in all seriousness, this is the guy who wants to be the Jeopardy host full time. So, I mean, it is what it is. There's too many question marks there to put him in the top 5, but I think sitting at 9, that's a reasonable spot for Aaron Jones this year.
I was thinking about that whole Aaron Rodgers announcing 1 hour before the draft he doesn't want to play for the Packers. I had a feeling like he went to the coaching staff and he said, "Hey, first round, you guys have to give me a wide receiver." And they're like, "Absolutely not. You're not. You have no say in this draft." And I think he personally got offended, and that's why he made that announcement right there.
He has made it very vocal in the past drafts that he needed more help, that he would like more weapons to throw to. So that, I mean, yeah, that quite possibly could have happened, and that's stuff that will shake out after Aaron Rodgers is away from Green Bay. I think that's when all this stuff will come out and we'll actually find out what really happened.
Yeah, after their GM gets fired.
Yeah.
For losing one of the best quarterbacks in the league.
Yeah, definitely.
At number 10, we have Cam Akers.
Woohoo!
I have Akers at 10. Mark has Akers at 9. I'm a little iffy about putting him in the top 10 just because he has a lot of question marks. He has a brand new quarterback like some of the other guys. He did turn it up at the end of the season, and he just looked amazing. He was very electric. He's really, really fun to watch. And that's why I believe he has to be in the top 10. But he just has question marks as will he still be the featured back that we saw at the end of the season? Or Henderson, who got injured, that allowed Akers to become the featured back, does he come back and start, are they in a timeshare? That's my main concern about the guy. If he's in a timeshare, he's not going to be as dominant.
Okay.
Clearly.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, I got some stuff for you.
Give it to me.
Oh, and I'm a Cam Akers truther because, well, he is on my team in fantasy as my keeper league. So I look at history. I'm a big believer in history. There's a history of Matthew Stafford throwing his targets. He targets the running backs 23% of his passes over his career. He loves, let me repeat, loves getting the ball to his running backs. That's one history. The other history is Sean McVay's offenses. So Sean McVay offense ranks third in rushing touchdowns since he's taken over the Rams. Okay, he ranks third in rushing touchdowns, second in carries inside the opponent 5-yard line during his 4 seasons as head coach. That is just positive for Cam Akers. Now here's the other thing: down the stretch, he was featured in the team's final 6 games. Okay, that's when he really won the job and was featured. He averaged 22 carries a game and 2.3 targets per game. So he's getting, let's say, 25 touches a game the last 6 games of the season. That screams feature back to me. That is not a sharing workload. That is, I am the guy. You are there to spell me. And don't forget also, their running back they had last year, that was their third down receiving running back, is no longer there. He's down in Miami.
Right.
So that gives him even more chances, more opportunities.
It does.
For targets.
But it still doesn't mean that he's going to be featured over Henderson.
Listen, I think Sean McVay is a pretty smart dude.
Mm-hmm.
You watch film on Henderson, you watch film on Akers, it's night and day.
Yeah, Akers pops out.
Maker's Mark?
I said Nakers.
Well, you think about him naked now?
I guess. Now I am.
No, but I think he saw all he had to see those last 6 games that I think Akers is going to come into this year as their feature back. If not, McVay's not as smart as I thought.
Yeah, he should be the feature back. We agree on that. But it's just, we don't know. It's like we always feel like, okay, this should be this situation. This is how this should work out. And then the games start playing. They're like, oh, why are they doing that? Like last year, I was just screaming at the TV when, they're giving Gus Edwards, the Ravens were giving Gus Edwards the ball at the goal line and he's getting stuffed. I'm like, you have J.K. Dobbins. It's just, he just runs in there so easily. I'm like, well, what are you guys doing?
But there are some coaches in this league that think you have to pay your dues first. And they always trust the veteran first. You know what I'm saying? They trust the veteran more so than the rookie.
And McVay is one of those coaches.
Yeah. Well, Akers is not a rookie anymore.
Yeah.
He grew out of that role the final 6 games of the year. And in the playoff game. That playoff game was huge.
So you want to see him in that Todd Gurley role.
Yes. Yes, please, may have another.
And he'll thrive in that.
Yeah. So I really, listen, if this was a dynasty league, that if you're drafting, so anybody out there drafting for a dynasty league, let's just break it down for you. The draft will be completely different. Your top 4 picks would be completely different. I mean, all of a sudden, Akers, Taylor Akers, are Chubb, but for sure, like Swift, Gibson, those are in your top 7 running backs that you're drafting. If this was a dynasty league, I think he's that good that this is going to be. And again, I'm putting him and Taylor. I put them neck and neck with each other. I really do. I think Akers last year, he only scored 101 fantasy points because he was not used the first 10
Mhm.
games of the season.
I mean, he was
But
dropped in our league, like,
yes,
just after the halfway point,
yes, he
and you
was.
pounced on it faster because you had a higher priority waiver wire than I did.
That's because I sucked a little more than you did to start with, right then at that point.
No, I think it was because I had at least 80 free agent transactions, so my
Okay.
waiver priority was always dead last.
But yeah, I'm so high on Cam Akers this year, and yes, I am putting my chips in the Matthew Stafford basket. All my eggs are going in. My chips are get pushed to the middle of the table. I'm all in. I'm all in on this duo and the offense that McVay runs traditionally. I mean, this is what he is. This is what his offense has been for 4 years, which is just completely. I mean, it screams Cam Akers being a top 5 fantasy player, a fantasy running back at the end of the year. It screams it, in my humble opinion.
Yeah, as long as Henderson doesn't steal those touches.
He ain't gonna steal his touches.
He might.
No, he ain't. There is. He's there to spell him. He's gonna get some touches, but no, it's still Akers is gonna get 25 plus touches a game. It's gonna be him.
But if we knew that for sure, he'd be higher on the list.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, again, drafting dynasty wise and drafting redraft is a total different thing with Akers. If this was a dynasty, number 1 pick in my draft is Jonathan Taylor. Number 2 is Cam Akers.
Mm-hmm.
That's just how it is. I think that's all we have today for everybody. I do want to say one more final thing for anybody that followed me and followed my bets for the Kentucky Derby. I am so sorry. I lost you money for sure. But if there is any justice in this world, it is that the winning horse just got disqualified because they have done testing for drugs, and now Bob Baffert is banned from his 4th track in the United States for drugging his horses. So I do have to do this. I know we weren't going to, but real quick, Bob Baffert wins the number 2 award.
Nobody knows who that is.
So if people who don't know it, Bob Baffert was a trainer for the horse that won the Kentucky Derby, who has been banned in 3 other tracks across the United States because of drugging his horses. And now here at the Kentucky Derby, he wins the Kentucky Derby, but then it gets stripped from him because he did it again.
So if you lost money on Mark's bet, it's because of that guy, not Mark.
No, because my horses still wouldn't finish the money. So no, it was because of me.
So next week, we'll be going over our top 10 wide receivers of 2021. If you guys have any questions for us, feel free to contact us via Twitter at TheProsFF. You can see all of our episodes and show notes and content at our website at thefantasyfootballpros.com. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.